Hey gang, Stand with Intentional Farms. Working on my video diary, vlog, whatever the proper term is for the story of our farm and the history of how things have come about. So this is episode number 3. Episode number 1 was the story of us. Episode number 2 was the story of our farm and how it came to be, the purchase, the beginning of it. And now episode number 3 is going to be the story of the animals. I will be detailing each animal group as we move forward with this, but I'm going to start from the beginning and bring it up to current with where we're at in the animals, how we got started, how we've selected, how we've unselected certain things, and just wanted to get this recorded and get it out there so we've got some more foundation work. So if you were paying attention to the other episode, you know that we had a smaller parcel near town, 5 acres. We didn't really do a whole lot with it. We decided that it'd be fun to get some animals. This was well before the farm was on our radar. And so we ran across 3 fainting goats and a miniature donkey. We'd built some fence. We had some brushy areas. We thought, why not? It'd be a kick. So we got 3 fainting goats, 2 females and a buck, and then that miniature donkey for a guard donkey. That was the beginning of our animal breeding experience. At the time, I was about 47 years old, and I had never owned a breeding animal to that point. So that's how we got started. I'm going to double back to that just a little bit later and give you some more details on that. But that was the very beginning of it, of animals and looking at using some animals to do some landscaping maintenance. So anyway, fast forward just a little bit to we've now purchased the farm. We're on the farm. We realized as the purchase was going on that we were going to need some serious landscaping help. I had been really paying attention to Greg Judy. I'd actually been to his grazing school by this point. Loved the South Pole cows, loved the sheep, and just loved the way he was taking care of things. So we were in the process of buying this current farm, and I got the wild hair that I'm going to need some sheep. So I got to looking. At the time, Craigslist was still active. I guess it is somewhat now, but you could actually find more stuff on Craigslist than what you could on Facebook at that time. So found a guy a couple hours away that had a flock of sheep. He had 40 Barbados. For those of you that don't know, that's a brown and a black belly. Barbados black-bellied sheep. Had a few rams. He really kind of had a mess. He was just leaving the rams in with him full time. He didn't know who was lambing, when was lambing, who was dad, who was doing anything. And so ended up making a deal for the whole flock. Bought the stock trailer, bought a sheep chute, bought everything. So here I am, big operator. We are now in the sheep business. Well, we didn't have fencing built on our new property, so we brought 40 of these ewes and rams. There was probably, I'm going to say, 6 rams. The rest of them were ewes. Some of them were bred. We brought them all to our place near town. At the time, we had about a 3-acre fenced paddock that didn't have much in it in the way of pasture. We had just done a little bit of dozer work and filled some stuff in, but I had a friend that had given me several trailer loads of hay that he said, I hesitate to sell it. He said, but it would be great for sheep and goats. So we started feeding that. We rolled a bunch of it out. We were just trying to put some organic matter on the ground and get some compostable debris down so we could start growing grass when spring rolled around. Well, we actually started lambing. We had no idea how close any of them were. We had some of them start dropping lambs, and then we had a problem. So we realized about the time we started lambing that we had predators in the neighborhood, and this wasn't going to work. So at that time, we still had our miniature donkey. We put the miniature donkey in with the sheep. He did not care for the sheep. He caused as much grief with the sheep as what he caused protection-wise, I think. So our first foray into livestock of any numbers really turned out to be a headache. We realized we had a predator problem. Our donkey was causing us grief. So I quickly came to the conclusion that, hey, I'm in a mess, I've got a wreck, and I'm probably going to lose all these animals if I don't do something with them. So I quickly put them back on Craigslist, found a lady that was willing to come buy them. She bought them all, and we moved on from that flock. So why do I tell you that? I'm telling you that so anybody that's paying attention or us watching this later will remember that we started our livestock journey with basically a wreck. And we all make mistakes, we learn from our mistakes, and we move on. So anyway, fast forward back to the farm that we're currently on, and like I said, I'd attended Greg Judy's grazing school. Loved the South Pole, was watching all of his videos, was reading everything I could about him. We actually went to a South Pole Day in Tennessee, and I don't know, must have been about 2019, something to that effect. Just learned more about him, realized quickly that with where we were at in our budget for starting, we weren't going to be able to start with South Poles. So being praying people, we just said, okay, let's just keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep working on building fence. At the time, we were re-fencing the entire property. There was no fence here that was worth keeping, so we had torn out most of it, and we're in the process of fencing it. So we kept fencing, and we just prayed about it. And we said, Lord, whatever animals you want us to have, we need you to let us know. So we weren't sure if we wanted to go cow-calf. We weren't sure if we wanted to do some stalkers and kind of do seasonally with the beef. But a friend of ours at church approached us just out of the blue. He said, hey, you guys are going to be needing some cows pretty soon, aren't you? And I said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am. He said, I got a group of heifers I'd love to sell together. He said, they're ready to go. They should make somebody some pretty good cows. He said, if you're interested, I'd like to show them to you. I said, you know what? I'll look at them. So this was this must have been spring of March of 2019. I think it was March of 2019. So to give you an idea what things were like at that point, I went and looked at them. He had 11 heifers. 10 of them were all consistent. One of them was a dink. She was born late. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, if you'll give me $550 a piece for those 10, I'll give you that 11th one for free. So I said, deal. So essentially, I got 11 heifers for $500 each. And being as I'm recording this in February of 2025, I don't even know what a heifer is worth now, but I'm sure it's $1,500, $1,800, $2,000. I don't know, but I don't follow the current markets currently, but they're high now. So I would probably buy a semi-load of heifers if they came up available again for $500 a head. So anyway, we made the deal. I finished a little bit of fencing, and he delivered those heifers in April of 2019. We had enough fence done that we were able to manage. We didn't have our water system in like we had hoped. So it was a lot of work to keep it managed. We built a lot of temporary fence. We had the exterior done, but we built a lot of interior fence just because we didn't have a whole lot in place. So we started with those heifers. The first year, I guess I didn't think in enough in advance or didn't want to begin with a breeding program. All I was worried about was cows eating grass. They were a little bit young, and I thought, it's not going to hurt to let them mature. I'd done some reading, and they said if you wait to breed them when they're 2 years old to calve when they're 3, that longevity-wise, you'll be doing those animals a favor. So that's what we did. We didn't even breed them the first year. We just let those 11 heifers graze and put on some weight and mature. We decided we were going to breed up, so we did buy a South Pole registered bull. We brought him home in May or June of 2020. Trying to get these dates. I hope I'm right, but it's not going to be the end of the world if I'm wrong. So we brought him home. We put him to work. He bred our girls. First calving season, we had 8 out of the 11. We lost a few calves in those heifers, and we had a couple of them that didn't breed. So we sold and processed 4 of those females. We had a decent calf crop as far as heifers. I think we had 8 out of the 10 that we had born. 8 of them were heifers, and so we kept those. Like I said, would have left us 7 heifers and a bull. So we bred those girls back to that bull again, and then we moved him on. So that's the story of the cows. We also wanted to run sheep. So in August of the same year that we started with cows, would have been 2019 with those heifers, we started with 4 Katahdin ewes. We bought those from a local lady. She had kind of some registered stock that we weren't interested in registered. She said, I've got some stuff that I'll sell you. It's good seed stock, or it's good genetics. She said, they're just not ones that I want to mess with register. And I said, okay. So So we made a deal for 4 ewes. I was going to go back and get some more, but we ended up with a bad summer that year, really droughty, and I thought, I'm kind of concerned about feeding the animals I got. So we stuck with those 4, and we just proceeded from there. She held us back a lamb at that point. We went back and got him. We turned our ram in on December 1st that year. First year we had a really good lamb crop. We had 9 lambs out of 4 ewes, and they all survived. We had 1 set of triplets, and the rest of them were twins. So we were off to a flying start with lambing and enjoying the sheep. So we were rotating them through the net. We started with 2 dogs. We got some pups. We actually bought a dog, an Anatolian, that we were going to run with the sheep, and she didn't like not being in there with the sheep, or being in there with the sheep. She kind of elected herself the free range guard dog. So her name was Bo. She's been running the place, and she's the boss guard dog, but she runs the whole farm now inside the perimeter fence. So we got 2 pups that were allegedly half Anatolian, half Pyrenees. I think they were probably 7/8 Pyrenees and 8 Anatolian, if you can do that math somehow. But those 2 pups worked out pretty decent. We did realize we weren't going to need 2 pups, so we kept 1. We named those Waylon and Willie. They were brothers. We kept those 2 for a year and a half or so, and then we moved Willie on. We kept Waylon. We still got him. I don't remember the numbers going forward with our lambs and our weaning percentage, but we kept breeding. Right now, we've had some lambs, some ewes that didn't breed. We've processed some ram lambs, sold some lamb, and right now, as of February 2025, we've got 29 ewes, 1 wether, and 1 ram that we're using. So this is the first year with our Katahdin ewes that we brought in a different breed of ram. We brought an American Grassmaster ram. If you do any reading in the Stockman Grass Farmer, there's a guy in there, Amish guy named Abram Bowerman, that has written a book called The Practical Shepherd. If you're thinking of sheep, you need to read that book. It's an excellent resource. But he has a neat story with a flock of sheep that he bought that were basically feral sheep that had been running on a place. So the cool thing about that is the parasites and the predators had weeded out the weak ones and the dumb ones. And this is a pretty strong genetic pool. So we brought him in to bring in some new genetics. So I'll keep you posted when I break the specific animal classes down as far as how it's going. I'll probably wait till after lambing starts and get you some aspects on that, and kind of let you know what I think of that American Grassmaster ram. So those are the 2 major animal groups that we started with. We did those for a couple of years, just getting our feet wet, we had a lot of infrastructure to put in on the farm. We were still putting in water lines and building other fences. And we're pretty content with just rotating our cows and our calves and our sheep and our lambs. And you can see behind me that there's a pen full of chickens. I'm sitting in the shop. Seems like the thing to do. It's kind of cold and dreary outside today, and farming videos without animals in them and just a lecture style are pretty boring. So these hens behind me there's 40 pullets in there. They're about 18 weeks old. I'm in the process of building a chickshaw. It's a mobile coop that I'm going to train these birds to go in. They will be following this year. We're going to be moving our cows to the pasture first. We've saved our steers. Oh, that's another thing. At the end of this year, we did have a drought. We had a terrible drought, and we didn't get any rain in September or October. So I didn't stockpile any grass. I didn't grow anything. And I really was wondering if cow-calf was going to be the approach that we needed to take. Cow-calf is great in my mind if you've got enough volume. If you're a small producer and you're looking to direct market things, cow-calf is about the slowest way that you can turn your capital over, turn your money over. It's great to own the factory, but at one point we were down to, I think we had 7 females, a couple of heifers that we had kept back, and we did try to AI them this last year, and we got skunked. We went over. There was 5 of them that we tried to AI. We bought some South Pole straws, hired a tech to come in and AI those 3 heifers and 2 heifers and 3 female cows for us, Black Angus cows that we had started with from the heifers. and we got skunked. So I realized that, okay, I need to back up and make some changes. So we sold all of our breeding females to a friend of ours, and he's going to add them to his herd. And he's got South Poles he's breeding up, and he just wanted to try something else. So that's where we're at right now. We kept our 5 steers from this year. We're going to continue to run them and raise them for beef. We'll probably just buy in some calves, maybe a couple, 2, 3, 4 every year, depending on our forage and our resources and what things are looking like in the fall going into the winter. So that's the plan with the beef right now, the current situation. The plan with the lambs and the sheep flock, we're going to continue to grow the sheep flock. We really think that our forage is better suited for sheep around here. We've got briars and brambles, and our sheep will get fat as dog ticks on blackberry briars, the green briars, and the stuff that the cows absolutely won't eat. At some point this year, when that yellow pasture flower called buttercup starts coming on, I will take some pictures and get them on here somehow. And the sheep will eat every one of those yellow flowers, and the cows won't touch them. So we're enjoying the multi-species aspect of this and utilizing the different forages for different crops, but those are the thought process going forward. Back to the hens. Sorry if this is scattered, but again, this is not scripted. This is just me putting thoughts on video form for later reference. So the hens, we will be rotating them behind. We're going to run the steers first. We're going to run the sheep right behind them, and then the hens will be right behind the sheep. So running the hens in the pasture will do a couple of good things. They will scratch through the cow pats, and they will eat the fly larvae, so it will reduce the fly load on the other animals. It'll provide some very nutritious feed and very nutrient-dense eggs. And then the free-range ability of them is the coop has an open floor in the bottom of it, so all of that litter and all of that from the chickens, I'm going to be able to place it where I want it and move it around as often as I move the animals. During the growing season, we will probably move the animals every other day and keep them moved on, keep them fresh grass, and we'll just see how that goes just based on how the forage is growing. The other aspect of the animals that we started with last year, we did add hogs to our mix. We had been kind of toying with the idea of it, been gathering information, and we realized that raising hogs in the woods is something that would work really well for us. We've got some woods that you can't hardly walk through. It is nasty and grown up. So we spent a little bit of time clearing the perimeter, and we bought 8 Hereford piglets. Last year in 2024 in April, we brought them home, we put them in a pen, we trained them to a hot wire. Once you get them trained to a hot wire, you can begin to rotate them. So we set up some hot wire paddocks out in the pasture, and we trained them for 2 weeks. They were 2 months old when they came home. So they were 10 weeks old when we turned them out in the woods to start doing their thing, and they thrived. They absolutely thrived. They were rooting up everything that you can imagine. Acorns and hickory nuts from the previous year. The persimmons start falling off the trees, and they will go just bonkers to eat all of that stuff. So they really did a good job. They did a good job opening up the forest and the forest floor, and I can actually get in there now with a chainsaw and start doing some thinning, because they'll take a blackberry briar and take it to the ground, and it's really fascinating what they did. We processed those USDA. We've sold cuts and pieces off of that. We've eaten what we can, and it is amazing. If you've never had pasture pork, you need to find a way to get hold of some. You won't go back to eating commercial pork, I can promise you that. It is hands down the best pork that I have ever eaten. Bacon, pork chops, pork roasts, delicious. So right now we've got 5 more feeders that we've got started. I've spoken for some more, and we're looking at maybe even doing some of our own farrowing, just because we really want to be able to have enough supply of pigs and piglets that we can produce a pretty good crop. We raised them on a no soy, non-GMO corn feed mix. Our feed producer, he does use a corn, it's non-GMO, and instead of soy, he uses a peanut meal for the protein. He puts a probiotic vitamin pack in it. Last summer, we noticed right after we had turned them out that we were getting a lot of ticks. I mean, a lot of ticks. I was getting nervous in the form of the ticks that were on their bellies. I thought somebody's either going to get sick, they're going to have enough parasite load that they are not going to gain weight, or we're going to have to spray. And I didn't want to spray. We are doing our best to raise everything naturally and the way creation intended. So what we did was, I've got the C90 with the garlic in it that I feed my other animals. I started mixing that in their feed. I put 50 pounds of the garlic C90 in with every ton of feed. We started feeding that. 2 weeks later, minimal ticks. I wouldn't say no ticks because everything is going to have a couple of ticks on it, but I would say we went from having 100 ticks per pig to 3 ticks per pig. So if you're raising pigs in the woods and you've got a tick problem, look for the C90 with the garlic. It is an amazing product. I'm sold on it. We're feeding it to our pigs right now. It's not even tick season, but I'm going to continue to feed it. We feed the C90 to all of our animals, so there'll be more on the C90 in another episode. The last thing I'm going to say about animals is we just placed an order for 300 broiler chicks. We're going to raise 2 batches of 150. We're going to process them here on the farm. We're going to raise them in the Salatin style chicken tractors, and we're going to have an experience learning how to do that. We've processed chickens before, but we're going to process them here on our farm. We're going to use them to put them in some of the spots where we really need some soil fertility, and use that litter and that disturbance from the chickens and scratching and pecking and all that. Use that to our advantage, and really hope to see what that can do for the soil. So anyway, that's where we're at, February 2025. Again, I'll break this down with animal classes as we continue to do this and get more current information, but that is the history, the foundation, and the up to the current status of where we're at right now. So anyway, episode 3, signing off.